Donald, you really haven't changed.
Lily told me you always liked keeping things simple. She remembers me well.
That's a polite way to put it.
I have a penthouse, executive car, a promotion in Aurelius Global Industries before year's end is nearly $20 billion.
Adrian is one of their senior executives.
Impressive. It's a different world once you reach this level. How should we do, sir? Should we proceed?
Before I tell you what happened when they discovered who I was, subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. Because Lily wasn't always a woman who measured people by money. To understand why her laughter mattered, you need to know the woman I fell in love with first. My name is Donald Thompson. 8 years earlier, Lily Lewis saved me from a broken umbrella. It was raining hard in Chicago when I stepped out of a bookstore after work. One violent gust turned my cheap umbrella inside out. Someone beneath the awning laughed. I turned and saw Lily holding a paper bag against her chest. "I'm sorry," she said, "but I think the umbrella won. It cheated. The wind helped. So it was 2 against 1. She raised her umbrella. "I'm walking toward the train. You can share mine if you promise not to fight this one." That was our beginning. We walked 6 blocks beneath one umbrella. By the station, I knew she worked for a small event planning company, hated olives, loved old movies, and dreamed of opening her own design studio. She learned that I worked in corporate acquisitions and spent my evenings studying struggling companies. That sounds depressing. I prefer misunderstood. You're emotionally attached to balance sheets. Only the attractive ones. She laughed. I asked for her number. Our first date was 4 days later at a tiny family restaurant. Halfway through dinner, the electricity went out. The owner lit candles and apologized. Lily looked around. "This is better. Exactly how I planned it. You arranged a blackout. I have connections." She leaned forward. "Then why did you bring me here in a 7-year-old Honda? To stay humble." Back then, neither of us had much. I rented a 1-bedroom apartment with a radiator that knocked all night. We ate takeout on the floor, watched old movies on my second-hand television, and walked beside Lake Michigan because walking was free. She never complained. One Saturday, I apologized because I couldn't afford concert tickets she wanted. Lily frowned. "Donald, I asked if you wanted to go. I didn't ask you to prove anything. We can go next month. Or we can buy pizza and watch something terrible." We did. She fell asleep with her head on my shoulder halfway through the movie. That was the Lily I loved. She was ambitious, but not cruel. She wanted beautiful things because she designed beautiful things, not because she needed strangers to envy her. And she believed in me before there was much evidence she should. At 30, I had a stable salary and a plan that frightened almost everyone I explained it to. I wanted to leave corporate finance and build a private investment company. My strategy wasn't glamorous. Buy struggling logistics, manufacturing, infrastructure, and technology businesses with strong foundations and poor management. Fix them, grow them, hold them. At night, my kitchen table disappeared beneath financial reports. Lily called them my plans for world domination. One evening, she wrapped her arms around me. "When you're a billionaire, don't become unbearable. What do you want when I'm rich?" She pretended to think. "A house with a real kitchen, 1 trip to Italy, and you home for dinner. No private jet. Absolutely not. Why? If you're always flying somewhere without me, I'll sell it." I laughed and kissed her. A year later, I proposed outside the bookstore where we'd met. It was raining again. I handed her an umbrella. She opened it and found a small ring box tied beneath the handle. "Donald," I dropped to one knee. "Lily Lewis, will you marry me?" "Yes." "You didn't let me finish." "Still yes." Our wedding was small and warm, with 70 guests in a restored brick hall. During our first dance, Lily rested her head against my chest. "I don't care where we end up," she whispered. "Just promise we'll still be us." I promise. For 2 years we were. Then I resigned from my job. I told Lily over breakfast. She slowly lowered her coffee. "You quit?" "Resigned sounds more responsible. We have a mortgage." "I know. Please tell me there's a second half to this conversation. I opened my laptop. Thomson Meridian Holdings. 18 months of research. Nearly every dollar I had saved. 2 former colleagues ready to join me. Lily read silently. You could lose everything. I could. Are you scared? Terrified. She closed the laptop, walked around the table and kissed me. Then do it. That sentence carried me through the hardest year of my life. Our first office sat above an old hardware store. The carpet smelled like dust, the heating barely worked, and my desk tilted whenever I leaned on it. Lily came after work with sandwiches. She would sit on a cardboard box while I explained acquisitions she barely understood. Our first one nearly destroyed us. A freight company was drowning in debt. We bought control, rebuilt its network. Later, its revenue tripled. More acquisitions followed. Thomson Meridian was becoming real. But I still drove my old Honda and wore the watch Lily gave me. At first, she teased me. Then her career took off. She spent evenings in rooms where people discussed cars, houses, watches, and vacations like scorecards. One night she came home from a gala and found me working. You should have seen Samantha's husband's Bentley. Was it nice? She stared at my old car outside. Very. A month later, she asked why we hadn't moved, why I still wore inexpensive suits, and why I never tried to look successful. I laughed it off. I shouldn't have. Because while Thomson Meridian was becoming more powerful, Lily had started comparing our life to everyone else's. I didn't understand the warning then. For the first time, I felt a crack forming between us. The change in Lily didn't happen overnight. It arrived in small moments I kept convincing myself didn't matter. A sigh when the valet brought my old Honda around. A question about why we still lived in the same house. A longer look at another woman's diamond bracelet during dinner. At the same time, Thomson Meridian was growing faster than I had imagined. Our freight acquisition opened the door to manufacturing, infrastructure, and technology. Within 2 years, we controlled interests in 9 companies. Then I found Aurelius Global Industries. Aurelius was enormous. Factories, logistics networks, energy systems, infrastructure technology, and more than 40,000 employees across 17 countries. It was also in trouble. Years of bad acquisitions and weak leadership had buried it beneath debt. Investors were leaving. Analysts expected the company to be broken apart. I saw something different. Aurelius wasn't dying. It was badly managed. One night, I spread financial reports across our dining table. Lily walked in carrying 2 shopping bags. Another company? The company. She smiled. That sounds dangerous. It probably is. How big? Very. She kissed my forehead. Try not to bankrupt us. I laughed. Over the next 18 months, Thomson Meridian began buying Aurelius shares through several investment vehicles. Quietly. My attorney, Rebecca Sloan, structured the purchases so competitors couldn't easily see our strategy. We bought debt, negotiated with institutions, and acquired voting rights from shareholders who wanted out. Then, at 2:13 one Tuesday morning, Rebecca slid a document toward me. 52%. I stared at the signature page. Thomson Meridian now controlled Aurelius Global Industries. My partner Michael Grant smiled. Congratulations, Donald. You just bought yourself the world's largest headache. What are we worth if the restructuring works? Rebecca answered carefully. Your stake could eventually be worth several billion. I should have gone home and told Lily everything. Instead, I told myself the restructuring was confidential and the valuation was only theoretical. But I also liked knowing that when I walked through my front door, I was simply Donald, not a controlling shareholder, not a billionaire on paper, just Lily's husband. I didn't realize Lily no longer saw simplicity the way I did. The arguments became more frequent. Lily wanted a luxury condominium downtown. I didn't. She wanted vacations while Aurelius was fighting through restructuring. I kept postponing them. She wanted me at more of her events. I attended when I could, but not enough. And whenever she asked how successful Thomson Meridian had become, I gave cautious answers. We're doing well. We're growing. Don't worry about money. Eventually, she stopped asking. I was protecting information, when I should have been protecting communication. But Lily was changing too. She had begun believing visibility was proof. Meanwhile, Aurelius recovered. We replaced weak executives, sold failing divisions, reduced debt, and invested heavily in automation and infrastructure. Its valuation climbed past 10 billion, then 14, then 17. My marriage moved in the opposite direction. Lily and I stopped laughing as much. Dinner became something one of us reheated alone. She traveled for events without asking me to join her. I worked later because the office felt easier than home. One night, I found her sitting alone in the dark living room. "Are you okay?" "I don't know." I sat across from her. "I don't think we're happy anymore." The sentence frightened me more than any business crisis. "We can fix that." "Can we?" "Yes." "How?" I didn't have an immediate answer. The final break came in our kitchen. I arrived home and found a large envelope on the table. Lily sat opposite it. "What's that?" She pushed it toward me. I didn't need to open it. "Lily, I want a divorce." I remained standing. "Is there someone else?" "Nope." "Then why?" She looked at me. "Because I don't want to wake up at 50 still waiting for my life to begin." "Your life began years ago." "That's how you see it." "And how do you see it?" She swallowed. "I married a man I thought was going somewhere." The words landed harder than she intended. I slowly sat down. "You think I'm going nowhere?" "I think you're comfortable hiding behind plans, deals, and someday." At that moment, my controlling stake in Aurelius was worth billions. But Lily wasn't talking to a balance sheet. She was talking to the man she believed I was. I could have changed everything with one folder. Inside my office safe were documents proving that Thomson Meridian controlled one of America's largest industrial corporations. I imagined putting them in front of her. I imagined disappointment turning into shock. Then I asked myself one question. If proof of billions made her stay, would I ever know why she was staying? So the documents remained upstairs. "Do you still love me?" I asked. Lily's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know." That answer ended our marriage more completely than the papers ever could. I signed 3 weeks later. The divorce was quiet. Lily kept her design business and everything she had built. I kept Thomson Meridian. Our prenuptial agreement had always separated our companies. On the morning she moved out, she stood beside the door with the last box in her hands. "I hope you find whatever you're chasing, Donald. I hope you do too." She left. I didn't tell her Aurelius had crossed 18 billion in valuation that month. I didn't tell her when it crossed 20 billion the following year. And I didn't tell her my ownership had increased to 58%. After the divorce, I buried myself in work. Aurelius became one of the strongest corporations in its sector. Its CEO handled the cameras. Regional presidents attended conferences. Senior executives became the faces employees recognized. I remained mostly invisible. That was why I barely noticed the name Adrian Cole when Rebecca placed his promotion file on my desk. "Senior Vice President of Strategic Operations," she said. "Strong numbers, aggressive management style, a few internal complaints." I skimmed the first page. "Not enough information yet. Have compliance review them before any promotion." She nodded and took the file. I forgot his name. 3 months later, after a board meeting, my phone vibrated. The message stopped me in the hallway. It was from Lily. We hadn't spoken in 11 months. "Donald, I know this is unexpected, but I'd like to invite you to dinner Friday." Another message arrived. "There's someone important in my life now, and I think you should meet him." Then a third. "His name is Adrian Cole." I read the name twice. This time, I remembered exactly where I had seen it. I could have ignored Lily's invitation. Instead, I replied, "Where?" Her answer came immediately. "Belmont House, Friday at 8. Belmont House was one of Chicago's most expensive restaurants, the kind of place Lily once would have called ridiculous. Friday evening, I arrived alone. I wore a dark suit, black shirt, and the watch Lily had given me years earlier. The hostess led me toward a table near the windows. I saw Lily first. Red dress. Perfect hair. Diamond earrings I didn't recognize. Then I saw him. Adrian Cole. I recognized his face from the executive file. He stood when I approached. Donald. His handshake was firm. Adrian. Lily hugged me briefly. You look good. So do you. We sat. Within 5 minutes, I understood why she'd invited me. This wasn't friendship. It wasn't closure. It was a demonstration. Lily wanted me to see the life she believed she'd found after leaving me. Adrian ordered wine. So Lily says you're an investor. That's one description. What size portfolio? Depends on the year. Real estate? Some. Stocks? Occasionally. He smiled politely. I recognized that smile. He'd already decided my level. Lily noticed. Donald never liked talking about work. Adrian nodded. Some people don't. The conversation moved on. At first, it was surprisingly pleasant. Lily told stories about our early marriage. She even mentioned my Honda. Donald kept that car until it practically begged to die. It was reliable. It sounded like farm equipment. Adrian laughed. What do you drive now? Something newer. Good. Presentation matters. Does it? Absolutely. People decide what you are before you enter the room. I looked at him. And if they're wrong? He shrugged. Usually they're not. Lily smiled. I remembered her telling me almost the same thing during our marriage. Dinner arrived. Then Adrian started talking about himself. He told me about his apartment overlooking the river, his executive travel privileges, the company vehicle, the conferences he attended in Europe. Lily listened proudly. Finally, she said, "Tell him about the promotion." Adrian smiled. "It's not official." "What promotion?" "Executive Vice President." "At?" He looked surprised I needed to ask. "Aurelius Global Industries." I kept my expression neutral. "I've heard of it." Lily laughed. "Donald, everyone has heard of Aurelius." Adrian leaned back. "Nearly 20 billion in valuation. That's substantial." "Very." He explained Aurelius to me for the next 10 minutes. Its infrastructure division, its manufacturing network, its expansion into Europe, its automation acquisitions. I had approved 2 of the acquisitions personally. "Sounds like an impressive company," I said. "It is. Who owns it?" Adrian paused. "Technically, institutional investors, holding companies, funds. It's complicated. No controlling shareholder. There's a private holding structure with majority voting control. Do you know who controls it?" He smiled. "At my level, I deal with the people actually running the business." I nodded. "Interesting." Lily touched his arm. "Adrian oversees major operations. Strategic operations," he corrected proudly. "Who do you report to?" "Daniel Mercer." I knew Daniel well. He was Aurelius's chief operating officer and one of the few people who met with me regularly. Adrian continued. "But once the promotion goes through, I'll have direct access to the executive committee." "Has it been approved?" "Almost." I remembered Rebecca's file. Strong numbers, aggressive management style, internal complaints. No complications. His smile tightened. "Nothing serious." Lily looked at me. "Why are you interrogating him?" "I'm interested. You never cared about corporate titles before. I care about people." Adrian laughed. "Corporate titles tell you plenty about people." "Do they?" "Of course." He leaned forward. "Look, Donald, Lily told me about your marriage. I know you worked hard, but there's a difference between working hard and positioning yourself correctly." Lily's smile faded slightly. "Adrian." "It's fine." He looked at me. "You seem intelligent, but intelligence without ambition keeps people ordinary." I glanced at Lily. She didn't stop him. "What makes someone ambitious?" "Scale, influence, results, and appearances." "Appearances are results people can see." Lily laughed softly. There it was. I understood the dinner completely now. Adrian wasn't merely her new boyfriend. He represented everything she had decided I wasn't. Visible, expensive, important. He raised his glass. "I learned early that there are 2 types of people in business. People at the table and people waiting for permission to sit down." "Which are you?" He smiled. "I'm already sitting." Lily laughed. I leaned back. "So am I." He didn't understand. Then Lily looked at my watch. You still wear that? You gave it to me. It wasn't expensive. I know. Adrian glanced at it. I can connect you with my guy if you ever want an upgrade. I'm happy with this one. He shrugged. That's what Lily said about you. I looked at her. She lowered her eyes. What's that supposed to mean? Adrian smiled. You're comfortable. Is that bad? It can be. Men get comfortable, then wonder why everyone passes them. Lily finally interrupted. Enough. But Adrian was enjoying himself. I'm only saying success requires hunger. He pointed around the restaurant. People in rooms like this understand that. And people outside. They usually work for the people inside. I smiled. Do you know everyone who owns Aurelius? He laughed. Why are you obsessed with ownership? Curiosity. I've never met the controlling shareholder. Would you recognize him? Probably not. Then, how do you know he's more important than someone sitting outside this room? Adrian frowned. What exactly are you trying to prove? Nothing. Lily sighed. Donald, please. This is supposed to be a nice dinner. I looked at her. Why did you invite me? Her expression changed. What? We haven't spoken in 11 months. Why tonight? I wanted us to be adults. And you wanted me to meet Adrian? Yes. Why? She hesitated. Adrian answered for her. Maybe she wanted you to see she's doing well. Lily shot him a look. But he was right. I nodded. I'm glad you're doing well, Lily. My answer seemed to disappoint her. Then Adrian said, No offense, but I think she wanted you to see what she meant when she said she needed more. Silence. Lily whispered, Adrian. He ignored her. You seem like a decent guy, Donald, but sometimes you have to accept when another man can provide the life you couldn't. I stared at him. Not angry, just fascinated. Your company provides that life. My career does. At Aurelius. Yes. The $20 billion company. Exactly. I nodded slowly. Then a voice came from behind me. Mr. Thompson. Adrian's smile vanished. I recognized the voice. Daniel Mercer. He stood beside our table with his wife. Daniel. I rose and shook his hand. I didn't know you were here tonight, he said. Private dinner. Of course, I won't interrupt. But Zurich cleared regulatory review. Already? This afternoon, the board needs your authorization Monday. Send everything to Rebecca. Yes, sir. Adrian hadn't moved. Daniel finally noticed him. Cole? Adrian swallowed. Mr. Mercer. Daniel looked between us. You know Mr. Thompson? Adrian's eyes moved toward me. We just met. Daniel frowned. Just met? Lily looked confused. Why wouldn't they have met? Daniel turned toward her. Before he could answer, Adrian spoke. Daniel, what exactly does Donald have to do with the Zurich acquisition? Daniel stared at him. Then understanding appeared on his face. You really don't know? The table went silent. Adrian shook his head. Daniel looked at me. I gave him a small nod. He turned back to Adrian. Donald Thompson is chairman of Thomson Meridian Holdings. Adrian froze. Daniel continued. Thomson Meridian holds controlling ownership of Aurelius Global Industries. Lily's face emptied. Adrian stared at me. Controlling ownership? 58%, I said. His lips parted. Nothing came out. Lily whispered, Donald? I looked at her. She seemed unable to breathe. You own his company? Technically, Thomson Meridian does. That's your company. Yes. Adrian slowly sat back. All evening, he'd explained success to me. Now he couldn't meet my eyes. Daniel cleared his throat. Donald, since you're already with Cole, should I assume you've discussed his promotion review? Adrian's head snapped toward me. I remembered Rebecca's file. The complaints. The review I'd ordered months before I knew Adrian was dating Lily. I calmly reached for my glass. No, I said. We haven't gotten to that part yet. Daniel Mercer looked from Adrian to me, sensed the tension, and stepped back. I'll let you finish dinner, he said. Good night, Daniel. He nodded. Good night, Mr. Thompson. The moment he walked away, silence settled over our table. Adrian stared at his wine. Lily stared at me. For the first time that evening, nobody was laughing. Lily spoke first. "Donald, tell me this is some misunderstanding." "It isn't. You own 58% of Aurelius, through Thomson Meridian and affiliated holdings. But Aurelius is worth almost $20 billion. "Yes," Adrian finally spoke. "Why have I never seen you?" "Because I don't run Aurelius day to day. The CEO and executive committee do. I handle ownership, major acquisitions, capital allocation, and board decisions." He cleared his throat. "Donald, about what I said earlier. You don't need to apologize because you discovered my title. I made assumptions. You did. I was joking. You were comfortable making those jokes when you thought I couldn't affect your life." He looked down. I wasn't interested in humiliating him. That would make me exactly the kind of man he believed power created. So I said, "Nothing you said tonight will decide your job." Adrian looked up. "Seriously?" "Yes." Relief crossed his face. Then I added, "Your conduct at Aurelius will." The relief disappeared. Lily frowned. "What conduct?" Adrian answered quickly. "There's nothing." "Then the review should be easy." "What review?" "The compliance review that started 3 months ago." His jaw tightened. Lily looked at him, then at me. "Adrian, can Donald and I have a minute?" He hesitated before walking toward the bar. The second he was gone, Lily whispered, "Why didn't you tell me?" "About Aurelius?" "About any of it. I told you Thomson Meridian was doing well." "Doing well? You controlled a multi-billion-dollar corporation and let me believe you were going nowhere. I never told you I was failing. You let me think it." "No, Lily, you decided it." That stopped her. "You saw an old car and decided I lacked ambition. You saw inexpensive clothes and decided I wasn't successful. You saw me working constantly and somehow concluded I wasn't building anything. You hid everything. I kept business private. I was your wife, and I should have communicated better." She looked surprised. "I missed dinners. I missed our anniversary. I let work consume too much of me. Those were my failures." Her expression softened. "But the money wasn't why our marriage ended." "How can you say that?" "Because if showing you billions would have made me worthy again, we had a bigger problem than money." Lily looked down. Adrian returned. His confidence was gone. "I think I should leave." Then he turned to me. "Mr. Thompson, I apologize." "Donald." He swallowed. "Donald. I'm sorry. I studied him. Be the same man with an intern that you are with a chairman." He nodded once and left. Lily watched him disappear. I embarrassed myself. "This isn't about embarrassment." "What is it about?" "Why you wanted me here." She looked at me. I waited. Finally, she said, "I wanted you to see that I was happy." "No, you wanted me to see that you had won." Tears filled her eyes. "That sounds horrible." "It sounds honest." She didn't argue. Then she asked, "Is there any chance for us?" A year earlier, that question might have broken me. Now it didn't. "I forgive you, Lily." Hope appeared in her eyes. But forgiveness isn't the same as going backward. The hope faded. "I understand." My driver opened the door. "Good night, Lily." "Good night, Donald." 3 days later, Rebecca placed Adrian's compliance report on my desk. It was worse than I expected. 3 employees had complained about repeated public humiliation. 2 had transferred departments after conflicts with him. Several expenses required explanation, and a vendor contract involved a former college friend Adrian had failed to disclose. "Do you want him terminated?" Rebecca asked. "No." She raised an eyebrow. "Investigate everything exactly as you would have before Friday. And the promotion? Freeze it." 6 weeks later, the findings reached the board. The undisclosed relationship violated company policy. More troubling were interviews with employees. One junior analyst described Adrian perfectly. "He respects titles, not people." I read that sentence twice. The board removed Adrian from consideration for executive vice president. He was reassigned to a non-supervisory role and placed on a 12-month performance plan. 4 months passed, before I heard from Lily again. No phone call, no request to meet, just an envelope delivered to my office. Inside was a handwritten note. Donald, I spent years thinking success was something other people needed to see. I confused expensive things with valuable things, and by the time I understood the difference, I had already thrown away something valuable. You kept wearing the watch I gave you, even after you could have bought any watch in the world. I finally understand why. I'm sorry. Lily. I folded the note and placed it in my desk. I didn't call her. Not every apology needs to become a reunion. Sometimes it simply allows two people to stop carrying the worst version of each other. For the first time in years, my calendar stopped controlling my life. I began leaving empty spaces in it on purpose. Some evening I cooked dinner. Some weekends I turned my phone off and drove beyond the city with nowhere important to be. The strange thing was that Aurelius didn't collapse without me. My executives became better because I trusted them to lead. I became better because I stopped confusing work with purpose. The empire I had fought so hard to build became part of my life instead of consuming it. Months later, I walked past the bookstore where we had met. It was raining. A young couple stood beneath the awning fighting with a broken umbrella. The woman laughed. I stopped and smiled. I didn't regret Lily. She had been part of my life before the billions, before Aurelius, before boardrooms filled with people waiting for my signature. But that dinner taught me something money never could. Adrian respected me only after learning what I owned. Lily regretted leaving only after discovering what she had failed to see. And I realized I didn't need either reaction. My victory wasn't owning the company her lover worked for. It wasn't watching his confidence disappear. It wasn't seeing regret in my ex-wife's eyes. My victory was leaving that restaurant without needing revenge. Because real success isn't making the people who doubted you feel small. It's reaching a place where their opinion no longer determines how you see yourself. And sometimes the person you're looking down on isn't beneath you at all. Sometimes you're standing inside something they built,